Hi, my name is Andrew Jones. If you're watching this, I would imagine your son or daughter is in my chemistry class. I teach general chemistry at Corner Canyon High School. This is my third year teaching it, and I just wanted to take some time, make a short video introducing myself and my class a little bit. My plan is to go over the disclosure today. Your child should be bringing home the disclosure. It's also on our technology on Canvas, our website that the class is under. You can find it there, but I wanted to take a few minutes to walk through it, really just to give me some practice for making these videos and for editing and all that sort of thing. So I realize you can read the disclosure and get plenty out of it, but you can humor me if you want and watch this, and you can learn a little bit about me in this class. So like I said, my name's Andrew Jones. I'm originally from Louisville, Kentucky. Been in Salt Lake for over 3 years now. I taught at Draper Park for a year, and I've taught at, this will be my third year at Corner Canyon. I've been teaching for 6 years total. So I'm excited to be teaching your student this year. So let's look at the disclosure real quick. If I can get this to full screen, I will. Here we go. So you see my contact information at the top. Please email me whenever. I do a pretty good job about getting back to emails within 24 hours, but that is definitely my main means of communication is email, at least from parent to teacher or vice versa. So you see my room number as well. I'm in the south hallway on the bottom floor, 106, and very important as well, you see office hours here. I'm here every morning before 7 a.m. So if your child can get in here before 7 a.m., I'll be here. I usually get here around 6:15 or 6:30. But Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 7 to 7:45. This is charger time or office hours. And then Monday through Friday, I'm there every afternoon, at least till 3, if not longer. So a good rule of thumb is for your students, your child, to just talk to me and say, "Hey, Mr. Jones, can I come in this afternoon?" 9 times out of 10, I'll always be there, but it's just good behavior, good practice for them to start being able to communicate with the teacher and let me know that they're coming in. So this is the disclosure. I tried to make it a little bit fancier this year so it's not boring black and white. So here it is. Just an intro about myself and the class. Chemistry is a very analytical, mathematics, engineering-esque subject. I teach mostly 10th graders, but we're going to be doing a lot of conceptual, critical problem solving. We'll be looking at elements, the periodic table, compounds, bonding, solutions, acids and bases, equilibrium, thermochemistry, just good swatch of general chemistry. So I find that this is pretty tough class for most kids. I find that kids either get it or they usually don't. I don't have a lot in the middle. So I'll talk about in a minute some ways that if students are having a hard time, that they can come in and get some help. Super. Course materials. Students will have until Monday of the second week of school to obtain their supplies. We don't need much in this class. I prefer mechanical pencils just so students aren't up sharpening their pencils all the time. Some colored pens for grading. One binder, 3-ring binder. It can be 1 inch or 1.5 inches. A few binder tabs. A scientific calculator is really important. Please get one of those. You can get one from Target, Amazon, Walmart, wherever. TI-30 is a good inexpensive option, about $10. And if you could supply a can of tennis balls this year, I'm tired of my floor squeaking and sounding terrible when chairs are moved back. And other teachers across the hall and next to us would appreciate that as well. So a can of tennis balls would be super. You see a note here about, can I bring my own technology? Of course, if your student has a cell phone, a computer, an iPad, please bring it. I will let you know that most of the time in class, probably 90% of the time, they will be put away, either on their person or in their bag. But I do use I do use technology at least once per class, usually at the end for my exit slips. There'll be days where we're researching or using computers, but if your student doesn't have technology, no worries either. They'll have access to technology via a computer card, iPad card, something like that. So either way is good. Okay, let's turn the page and let's focus on this section up at the top left, class rules. My class is really simple. I've been teaching for 6 years. I want to simplify things as much as possible. Number one, really the rule that governs my whole class. I could really just have put this there. Do nothing to stop the learning or teaching process. Sorry about the bell. But be in your seat, prepared to work when the bell stops ringing. Keep cell phones away unless otherwise told. Follow lab procedures, be safe, and then do your personal best. That looks different for every person. The consequences of my class, I don't often have to use any of these, but I usually ask students to step out of class and have a conversation with me. If I need to, I can call home and then obviously meet with administration. I don't foresee problems with a lot of that. If you could scroll down to this section at the bottom left, the technology we'll be using, Canvas. Students should be checking Canvas daily. That tells students exactly what we've been doing in class, daily class assignments, these video tutorials that you're watching right now. So, spoiler alert, I am going to be creating videos for every lesson this year. It's going to take me a lot of time, but I think it's worth it. So no longer can students come to me and say, Mr. Jones, I have no clue what's going on. I've been gone for a week in Costa Rica or on a cruise or in Hawaii. I don't know what's going on. Well, I'm more than willing to help you, want to help you, but my first means of helping you is you going to watch the video. It's exactly what we've been doing in class, and it should be extremely helpful. Now be patient with me. I don't think they won't be winning any awards for video editing or anything, but I think they'll be very helpful. Skyward obviously is where you can go to get grades. You can get that on your cell phone or a computer. Please check that, maybe even multiple times weekly. Students catch mistakes on my end all the time, so please check that. And then Remind, you see how to sign up for Remind right down here. I send out maybe a Remind every few weeks. I hope to use it a little bit more and send out the URL of the videos I'll be doing, so please sign up for that. Parents, you can sign up for that as well, and the directions are right down here. So you can get text notifications. I don't know your student's phone number. They don't know my phone number. It's a great system. Okay, let's look at grading expectations. All the science department has the same grading expectations. Summative assessments or tests are 65%. This includes tests and can include labs. Formative assessments, in most labs, this is pretty much labs and quizzes, the second thing. And then finally, 5% homework. As you notice, that's 95% quizzes and tests and 5% homework. I imagine most students came from Draper Park Middle. So if you've been in the Canyon School District, you've heard of standards-based grading. So very much we believe that we want students to master the standards, and you master the standards by doing well on the test and quizzes. If homework helps you, great, but it's only worth 5% of your grade. You see the grading scale beneath that, pretty standard grading scale right there. What else? Test. Let's talk about tests. They'll be given at the end of every unit. If you miss a test due to an excused or school-related absence, you'll have 5 days upon returning to take the test during my office hours. Just another good reminder of student communication. Please make sure students are emailing me, are communicating with me, and we can figure all this stuff out if there's a school-related absence or an excused absence. One thing that is very popular in my class that needs to be talked about: what if I did poorly on my tests? Can I do corrections or retake it? Yes, you actually have 2 options in my class. We talked about standards-based grading and mastery. The district and our school has determined mastery is at 80%. So if students get an 80%, they're at mastery. So step number one, students can retake the test. Now, there's some stipulations with that. It talks about tracker stamps. You have to have 5 tracker stamps. I'll talk about that in a second. But if students choose to retake the test after getting 5 tracker stamps, they will receive the score on their second test, no matter what. So if it's worse, then that's the score they're going to receive. If it's better, they'll receive that score. Step 2, students can do test corrections. So if a student got, say, a 60% on the test and they have 5 tracker stamps, again, I'll talk about that in a second, they can come in class, schedule this with me, and do some test corrections that would take anywhere from probably 30 minutes to a few hours. When students do that, notice in the bold here, I'll give them half point per question up to an 80%. Remember that mastery is at an 80%. So if you have already achieved above an 80%, this option is not for you. But if you're under 80% and you have 5 tracker stamps, you can do test corrections to get your grade no higher than an 80%, because that is what mastery is. So you kind of see step 1 here, or not step 1, but choice 1. If you choose to roll the dice and retake the test, you best be prepared for it, because if you're not, you're going to get a lower score than you got, and that's the score you're going to receive. So what's this tracker stamps, this sheet I speak of? Students will be receiving this pink stamp. This is huge in my class. This lets me know how much time and effort students are putting into chemistry. So how do you get these stamps? Well, you have to get 5 stamps per unit, no matter what, to do test corrections. So they have to be from the current unit. Usually that's about 3 weeks to a month that they have to come in before or after school during charger time, ask me a question, sit in here and study. They could ask a higher level question in class. They could catch an error. They could relate some chemistry topic to real life. I'm pretty fair and pretty broad with giving students these stamps. But in essence, it shows me that a student's willing to put forth energy and, most importantly, I think time to devote to chemistry. So if you don't have 5, you don't get to have any of these 2 options for test retakes or corrections. So please don't ask, because I will say no. Quizzes will be given once a week and cannot be retaken. Students, I'll talk about students' way for students to get some points on them back, but again, 80% is mastery, so students cannot retake them and get higher than that. Okay, and then our last page, I just put assignments up here. How I do assignments or homework is I'll assign them at the end of a class. I'll usually give them some time in class to work on them, and they're due at the beginning of the next day we meet. For A day, B day, that would usually be 2 days later. So we usually grade them in class, spend some time on them, go over it. Again, assignments are only 5%, so don't worry that much about them. But also key to see that no assignments or labs or anything during the unit will be accepted after the end of the unit of study. So in layman's terms, it means it's a 0. If you don't turn it in before the day of the test, then you're not going to get to turn it in at all. So make sure you're doing that. I talked a little bit about labs, but we'll do a lot of labs in this class. It's very hands-on. Here's a little bit about lab makeups. Again, you have 5 school days from the original day of the lab to make it up if you have an excused absence. Students get 1 lab redo per quarter. I'll talk about that at the end of the quarter, but that's nice. And really important, inappropriate or unsafe behavior during a lab will result in a student being kicked out of the lab. I will give an alternate assignment, but until a student completes that alternate assignment, they will have a 0 sitting there. I've never had to do that. I don't plan on it, but it is very serious because we do work with chemicals that can be unsafe if handled in the wrong way. There's a $20 lab fee for this class. So that will need to be turned in by September 1st, I believe, 2017. And attendance makeup. This is now a school-wide policy. Students may make up some absences or tardies during charger time in my classroom. Just like a lot of things I've said, I need to have some communication with the student. They must sign up ahead of time on the schedule on my counter. So, and then the last thing here, I just ask you and your student to sign this and date it so that you know what's expected, they know what's expected, we're all on the same page. And finally, I have a note here that there is a chemistry lab safety agreement on the next page. I'm not going to go into depth on that on this, but it's very self-explanatory. We want to be safe in chemistry. We want to have a good time, but ultimately we want to make sure students know what's expected of them. So if you could sign and date that as well, both parent and students, they'll be turning that back into me within the first few days of school. So look forward to meeting you all at parent-teacher conferences. If you have any questions, email me. Please keep up with these videos, whether parent or student, but hope you enjoy this and it's helpful.